Things are supposed to be difficult, and it's why only a very few amount of people actually make it on the other side, and I'm actually so grateful for this. Because if life was easy, it would be so easy for everybody to be able to make it, and that's just not the case. And I really wanted to make you this video today, and I was reluctant to make it because I'm already so tired. It's 9:30 p.m. at night. I've already had an entire day's worth of work with my client, and the last thing I want to do is actually turn on the camera. But I want to do this every single time that I feel tired because it actually builds up my self-esteem, it builds up my confidence. One of the best things that I can do is actually capture myself in real time when I have a situation like this. One of the very best ways for me to connect with you is actually show you who I am when I'm already tired, when I don't want to be on camera, but I'm showing up anyways. One of the most underrated skills that you could develop for yourself is the ability to act fast. Now, when I look back on my career, actually, I used to ask my managers all the time, any place that I used to go, can you sit me next to the A player, the absolute beast? I want to see what they're doing and I want to learn something from them as well. And consistently, whether it's agency or whether it's software, what I learned is that the beasts out there, they work with such intensity and speed. Now, the downside of that, things become a little bit sloppy. Their emails aren't actually that great. It's a little bit hodgepodge when they send it out to clients, but that's okay because they've got so many deals going on. They've got so much activity that if any of them land, it doesn't really matter, right? And then they just move on and the next month they do it all over again. And over time, I actually picked up that habit. One of the best ways to actually learn speed is actually to surround yourself with maybe one or two people. People have an energy about them and they like to move with velocity. And as a consequence, it's a little bit sloppy, right? The things that they do is a little bit sloppy, but that's okay because most likely they're not in their head, they're not overthinking about it, and they don't really care what other people think as well. This is probably something that you want to absorb very early on so that you don't develop habits where you're surrounding yourself with other people who tend to overthink. People who overthink, yes, their output is a little bit better, but they're slower, so they don't have as much volume and they don't have as much iterations. So in their mind, they're not learning as quickly. So I would rather be with maybe two people on a regular basis, Monday to Friday, where they just move quickly. They got spelling mistakes everywhere. Sometimes when they set up a calendar invite, there's a mistake. It's okay. All these things can be overlooked. Not a problem at all. Because in the real world, all the customer cares about is what can you do for me? Everybody gets a little bit too hung up about how good they look, etc. But that's why I wanted to show you on camera. Like, I'm already so tired, but yet I'm showing up for you anyways, because that's how it's supposed to be. In my first year of business, I believe it's probably going to be the hardest thing because I have to transition away from the 9-to-5 brain and I have to work against that comfort zone and I have to acquire skills that's outside of sales because it would be so easy for me to just go back into sales, make a lot of money, and then just continue ticking along that way. And although I can make money like that, I'm never going to see the real potential of who I really am. So I would really encourage you, if you really want to move with speed and velocity, the best way, honestly, is to acquire it from somebody else. If you don't have that trait right now, try to hang out with people that are like that. You don't have to spend so much time with them, but just observe the way that they work. Generally, they like to cut video calls very short. They take 1-2 things and then they just roll with it and they're willing to just cut the call very quickly. And generally, they don't like to talk too much, they just like to do. Those are the best types of people to hang around with because over a course of 2 to 3 years, they actually can do a lot of things for themselves. But the funny thing is, at the beginning, you might actually underestimate them because you think they're not as precise, they're not as accurate with their outputs, so how can they possibly get success? And you'll be really surprised that when I do my hiring rounds for sales teams, this is probably one of the things that I look for, but very, very little people have. So for example, when I ask you to send me something, send me a resume, send me a response in the email, I'm looking for speed. If I'm asking for a couple of things from you, let's say an updated CV or a response to my email, and I see that you've taken a little bit too long to reply, then I know that you're trying to finesse it on the back end to make it look a little bit more schmick. And that's okay, but what I'm looking for is a person who can just literally tell me what the answer is, whether it's right or wrong, that's not a problem, but at least we can just move on to the next problem and solve that together. So think about the top 1 to 2 people in your life right now that you can spend some more time with and literally just observe them. If you don't have like at least 2 or 3 people that you can think of that literally operate like everything is urgent, there's your problem. You're probably surrounding yourself with people who are very comfortable. They operate a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish. It doesn't really matter if things are urgent. They don't even have a priority list. And they're not willing to drop things right here, right now to do that task That's your actual problem. You're surrounding yourself with people who have no urgency whatsoever, and you wonder why things take years to actually build.